Alrighty, how's it going everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to you as well. I'm Jonathan with Boston Collectors, and in today's video, we'll be unboxing and reviewing K-2SO from Rogue One. This was a lovely Christmas gift from the wife, so this review is brought to you in part by her. Beginning with the band, it's an older piece, so it isn't as decorated as the previous releases. They kept it simple by showcasing the figure and the name of the character. Like the Star Wars logo, the bands share a reflective nature as well. Found on either side of the cigar band, you'll see K-2SO facing the front of the packaging, almost in a coin-style side portrait, if you will. As for the back of the box, we have the usual warnings, store locations, and figure information mentioned here. For those of you wondering, the Star Wars logo is present on the top and bottom of the packaging. And finally, decorating the middle of the box is K-2SO himself. As we start to dive in, we're greeted with the beautiful art insert of the figure. Simple, but very effective. If you're enjoying the content so far, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. With 2023 literally around the corner as of tomorrow, we have a lot in store for you all. Beginning with the antenna, it simply pegs into the back of the figure. Although once it's in, it might be difficult to take out. It's a very simple piece, but it adds depth to the figure and draw your eye to the greeblies beneath it. Side note, there isn't a light up functionality here. Again, it adds depth to the figure in a very subtle way. Moving on to the next accessory, we've seen this in the film when K2 caught the stormtrooper's grenade and chucked it over his shoulder. Although it was charged, right? Well, Hot Toys added a twisting function for it to appear both armed and unarmed, depending on your preference. Next, we have the SC-14R blaster pistol, which was given to him by K-2SO. You've seen this before if you've picked up a few of Hot Toys' pieces in the past, namely the Death Trooper, Transport Trooper, and so on. There isn't a difference in terms of paint applications, but I am glad to see Hot Toys decided to go ahead and include it with his release. As for the final accessory, we have the base. Apart from the earlier sequel trilogy figures, I don't have anything as decorated as this nameplate. As for the main portion of the base, it's a basic starship flooring design in black. Although, if you're not a fan of it, they included a sticker which can be held down by the figure stand. It's a beautiful glossy design with textured features in the Rebel Alliance logo and K2's name in Aurebesh. For the figure stand, it's a unique design that I've not seen before. It works in the same way as your average crotch stand, but it features a better way to hold K2 in place. With a little futzing, you want the crotch piece to stick between the inner groin on both sides. With K2's portrait, there's a light-up feature hidden beneath the central unit. After gently pulling off the friction-fit portion, you'll see the battery compartment, switch, and light. If you're interested in seeing the light-up function, you'll have to unscrew the battery compartment, place the batteries into the unit, and simply place everything back the way you found it. After placing the other half of the portrait back on the figure, K-2SO comes to life. But first, I want to point out the beautiful grille pattern in his eyes. Behind them, you'll have the search system, which will allow you to change the direction that he's looking in. It isn't really a noticeable change per se, unless you're looking dead on and pretty closely. And even then, the batteries barely gave me time to film. A lot of the inner workings of his lower jaw and the unnoticeable seam line for the battery compartment is what amazed me the most. As for the rest of his portrait, there isn't really a lot to go over. It's a droid, so I'm glad Hot Toys didn't give a pristine, unscathed version of K2 and chose to add nicks and dings for more character. So bear with me. What you all will see here on screen won't necessarily correlate with what I'm saying. With that said, I had a great time just looking over the figure and taking in all of the finer details found throughout K2's body. While it is an older figure, the only problem would have to be in the arms. They can get a little floppy if you're posing them too much. However, when it comes to the lower half of the figure, that's where you begin to see the true stability of the piece. The knees are on firm ratcheted joints as well as the ankles. The neck joint is also pretty firm. In terms of diecast, I noticed it in the thigh area of the piece, which I feel balanced the figure pretty well since he appeared top heavy. Other than that, like I said before, K-2SO is a beautiful piece to simply marvel at in terms of the greeblies and patterns found throughout his person. If you fear posing him without his stand, I get it. But he is capable of standing without it. I've noticed a lot of the posing is done in the swivel of the hips, as well as the midsection of the body, which is on a ball joint. After that, you'll want to stabilize his pose further by futzing with the arms a bit. When you're done, you're done. As for comparisons, I only own so many Imperial figures. Here we have Moff Gideon. We also have the Dark Trooper, which, very surprising to say the least. And lastly, Darth Vader. I think it's safe to say K2 is the tallest Star Wars figure I own. So I love K2's character, but I always wanted him in my collection as an Imperial droid. After seeing the aftermarket prices for him, I didn't think he was worth over $500, so I stopped looking. I wanted this version of the KX security droid, not the KX Enforcer droid recently announced from the Book of Boba Fett. So the wait for a reissue continued until my wife surprised me on Christmas. Now with that, I have a difficult time rating figures that were released over 5 years ago, because the engineering is a lot different these days. IG-11 for one would be a great example. Respectfully, I'll have to decline rating this figure because of it. Let us know down below if you have him in your collection or if you're waiting for the KX Enforcer droid release. With that said, don't forget to like this video if you haven't already and subscribe for future content. We want to thank you all for watching, and as always, even though we didn't rate it, if you like it, we love it. This is Jonathan with Boston Collectors, and we'll catch you on the flippity flop.